Hello everybody, in this lesson I will do some revision on algebraic expressions. Algebraic expressions. Mathematical sentence consisting of letters, numbers and operators. Now when I give you the algebraic expression 3x plus 8, then our variable is the x, the alphabet letter. There's also something we call a constant. That is the plus 8. What is a constant? It's a number in an expression that is independent of any variable and does not change. That means, in short, that the constant is the number without a variable. The coefficient. That is the 3 in front of the x, in front of the variable. What is a coefficient? It's the number in front of the variable together with its sign. Now you'll see that arrow points to nothing. If there is no sign, it means there is an invisible plus. Let's look at term. A term is the different parts of an algebraic expression. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. The expression negative 3a plus 20 consists of two terms. A variable term minus 3a and a constant term plus 20. What is a monomial? A monomial is an expression with one term. For example, 3xy. And whenever it's written like that, 3xy directly next to each other, it means 3 times x times y. So the 3 is called the coefficient and x and y are the variables. And that's only one term is called a monomial. A binomial, an expression with two terms. For example, x squared minus 4. So it's the minus that separates the two terms. Binomial, two terms. A trinomial, that's an expression with three terms. And here you can see the plus and the minus separates the three variables, and that's why it's a trinomial, three terms. And then a polynomial is an expression with two or more terms. So in other words, the binomial, trinomial, etc., they are actually all polynomials. And there is an example of a polynomial. 2a plus 7b minus c plus 8. That polynomial consists of 4 terms. Let's look at the multiplication and addition in algebra. More specifically, we will multiply a monomial with a binomial, a two-term. Before I explain the multiplication, let me remind you of law 1 of exponents. And this law specifically states that when your bases are the same and you multiply, then you add exponents. Now, let's go back to the sum. When I give you 2x times, bracket, x to the 3 plus 5x squared, close bracket, then I will use something that we call the distributive property of multiplication to simplify. And that means I will take the 2x and multiply it with x to the 3, and I will take the 2x and multiply with 5x squared. We will say 2 times, and remember, if there's no coefficient number in front of the variable, there's an invisible one. So it's 2 times 1 is 2, and on the variables, on this x's exponent, If there's no exponent, there's an invisible 1. Therefore, it becomes x to the power of 4 because it's multiplication. Bases are the same, you add exponents. And then when you multiply 2x with the 5x squared, it becomes 10x to the 3. I added exponents. And then you cannot add them together since they are not like terms. This is x to the 4, this is x to the 3. They are not like terms. Let's do another example. In this one, again, I will first use the distributive property of multiplication to get rid of the bracket. So I will say minus 3ab times 2b becomes negative 6ab squared. The a will just write with, but on b, since they are like terms, you multiply, therefore you add exponents. And then the minus 3ab into 4a will become minus 12a squared b. There's the a exponent 1, there's the a exponent 1. When you multiply and bases are the same, you add exponents. That's how I got to a squared, and then the b will just write with. And then in terms of the rest of the sum, the minus 8ab squared plus 2a squared b, there's nothing you can do there, so they will just continue and write with. Now, there's like terms, so we can add them. There we find minus 6ab squared. There's another one, minus 8ab squared. They are like terms, so we can add them. Therefore, it's minus 14ab squared. And in terms of the a squared b, there's minus 12a squared b plus 2a squared b is negative 10a squared b. And now you cannot add them. That's where you stop. They're not like terms. When it comes to subtraction in algebra, you have to be very careful. In this example, the question says subtract 4a squared minus 5b plus 2 from 3a squared minus 4b plus 1. And this is where you start. You start with the from part. So there's your 3a squared minus 4b plus 1 minus, and then the other trinomial, you put that one inside its own bracket. And then in the next step, that one writes with the first trinomial. Now you're going to multiply in this minus into all three terms. Therefore, it becomes negative 4a squared plus 5b minus 2. And now you add like terms. 3a squared minus 4a squared is negative a squared. Negative 4b plus 5b is plus b. And remember, if it's 1, you don't write that one as a coefficient, you just write plus b. And then in terms of the constant terms, the terms without the variables, plus 1 minus 2 is negative 1. There's a very important operation that you must be able to perform in algebra, and that is called substitution. Now, when you look at the example, the question says if x is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to 2, simplify, and then I give you that expression. That's a monomial. So what you do is, before you start with your substitution, you first need to get rid of the bracket here, and you do that by using the distributive property of multiplication. So it becomes negative 3x squared negative 12y, and only now will you do the substitution. And the most important thing to remember when you substitute is to use brackets. So that will be, in x's place you will substitute negative 1 inside a bracket squared, and then minus 12, and in the place of the y you substitute 2. Please note the use of the bracket. Then you have to remember your rules, and the rule here is you first have to do the powers. So you first have to say -1 squared becomes +1, and you wait with the -3. And then in terms of minus 12 times 2, it's just -24 when you multiply them. And only now can you say minus 3 times +1 is -3, minus 24 is equal to minus 27. In the next lesson, I will teach you how to work with the product of two binomials. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next video.